Good morning. All right, we still have some people getting seated, but I want to go ahead and get started. I'm Katie. I'm the general manager here at ADAC, and we are so excited to welcome you to day 3 of Design ADAC Spring Market. Thank you all for being here. We have a great lineup in store for our final day of market. Again, I just want to remind everyone, grab a copy of the event guide if you don't already have it, so you know what to do and where to be today. Have some fun with us on social media. We have had a blast sharing all of your fun stories and videos and pictures all over our Instagram. Our handle again is at ADAC Atlanta, and use the hashtag DesignADAC. And don't forget, all of our speakers and our media partners and our sponsors' handles are also in this event guide. So tag them so that they can see all of the fun that you're having. I want to thank the Jane Group for this amazing stage decor that we have on stage. Of course, all of the product came from ADAC. And if you'd like to know where any of the products came from the showrooms, we have a source list in the back of our presentation room, so go check that out. Today, I want to thank our sponsors, Hector Finch, which is at R. Hughes. Don't forget that we're going to go upstairs to the R. Hughes showroom, that's Suite 320, after this presentation, and Martyn will be signing copies of his book, so be sure to go join us there. I want to thank our media partner today, that's VERANDA. VERANDA hosts Design ADAC with us every year, and we are just so grateful for this partnership that we've had for so many years. So thank you so much to VERANDA. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Emma Finch with Hector Finch.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's our great pleasure to be here today. We have been represented for just over a year now with the wonderful R. Hughes showroom, and we are so delighted by all the business that they're doing for us and all the love that we're getting from them. We get particular love from our wonderful partners, VERANDA. I have had a relationship with VERANDA now for over 10 years, and they have been so supportive and incredibly warm and generous towards us and our small business from London. So we are really, really grateful for that. And with no further ado, I introduce my fellow countrymen, Martyn, and these two leading lights from the design industry. Please do come up to the 3rd floor after the event and have some light refreshments and enjoy Martyn's book signing. Thank you very much.
Emma, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. We're so honored to be partnered with you for this, and just want to thank you for all of your support at Hector Finch. And if we don't burn this place down during this panel, we are headed over to R. Hughes, the showroom, after this. So, fingers crossed. Thank you so much, Emma and Hector. We're so honored to be partnered with you. And I also want to thank Katie and ADAC and our wonderful partners. We're so glad to be here, and you are truly the heartbeat of the Southern design community, and are such a big influence in design overall. And so this is where it happens. We're so happy to be here. And I also, one more small thing, I just wanted to encourage everyone to sign up for VERANDA's new Trade Secrets newsletter. This is where you get insider discussions and everything. It's written by Steele Marcoux, our editor-in-chief. We're just launching it. And so I just wanted to, it's veranda.com/trade secrets. So just a little reminder to do that. So let's get into this. I'm Ellen McGauley. I'm the executive editor at VERANDA, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm going to do some quick introductions, but if I talk more than that, then I'm not doing my job, because we've got a lot of storytelling over here with these gentlemen. I'm going to start with you, Martyn. Renowned Los Angeles-based interior designer and dashing conversationalist, Martyn Lawrence Bullard. His client list ranges from longtime friends like Tommy Hilfiger, who we'll get into, and Cher, to Cindy Crawford, Kaya Gerber these days, correct? Sylvester Stallone, Ellen Pompeo, to name just a few. His work has appeared in over 4,000 publications around the world. I've worked with Martyn on set before, and I would say that the most memorable thing beneath all the headlines and the million-dollar decorating and the product and textile lines.
Wow.
He has an incredible bank of knowledge of decorative arts, and it's amazing. You can go on a journey with him to Cairo or Istanbul just by talking about tableware, and I always found that so impressive. He's actually written about Cairo for us, and so count on me to bring it back to the written word and everything, but we're obviously going to be talking about photographs today. Welcome, Martyn. We're so glad for you to be here.
Thank you so much.
Douglas Friedman is a world-renowned photographer. There's no overstating his talent or his eye. Put simply, he is a master of atmosphere, environment, portraiture. You're a native New Yorker. Began your career in filmmaking, actually, and then just started traveling the world with your camera, right? And just and since then, there's no one more written about as a photographer these days than Douglas Friedman. And we at Veranda are so honored to work with him every time. And in fact, you are shooting for us this week. Tomorrow. So right here in Atlanta. So we'll look for that. I would maybe guess next March that story will be. It is just a privilege to be here with you. Welcome, Douglas.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So these two have done more than 200 covers together, and if we think about this as a master class where we know that we can take these little nuggets that we can take away from it, and so with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and say, if you've had more than 200 covers together, maybe let's start with how you two started working together and when.
Rather naughtily, I have stolen the clicker.
Yeah.
Because not that I'm a control freak, but I might be today. Hello, Atlanta. How are you all? What a gorgeous crowd, good heavens. How divine to be here. Douglas and I are thrilled to be here to be your entertainment this morning. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our relationship, which has been almost 17 years now that we've been working together. And just to correct a little something, my new book, Star Style, is actually our book because it is a highlight of all of the extraordinary photography that Douglas has done for me over the years. And so when we have our book signing later, Douglas will also be signing because he's very much a big part of that.
Thank you, Martyn.
So here we go. There we are. Look at, good God, what a dashing couple. If you can believe it, that is us in Kourtney Kardashian's shower.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The amazing thing is that you have to take photographs in the most peculiar places sometimes to get the best imagery. And talking of peculiar places, Douglas Friedman, good morning.
Good morning, Martyn. Good to see you again.
So here's our first ever project together, which was a shoot for Harper's Bazaar. And this is Tamara Mellon, who at the time was the creator, owner of Jimmy Choo.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a penthouse in New York City. And this story ended up, in fact, the bazaar, we actually had 7 covers out of this one shoot that went into all the different sort of bazaars and things around the world with this one. But that is the extraordinary thing of working with an amazing photographer, is that when they capture the right imagery, the world captures that magic. And they want to repeat it, and you see it over and over again. Hence, we ended up with so many covers from this story.
I mean, also a testament to your design.
Thank God you said that.
Yeah.
So here's another cover from that shoot from some, I don't even know what this magazine is, called Dom. I think it might have been Dominatrix from the look of our fantastical
And what is that,
photography
2013?
there.
What did we say that was, 2013?
Yeah, well, that we shot in 2008. Which was the end of the year. Most of those covers came out in 2009. This was the same shoot, but published, a few years later. So again, with great photography, the photography has a life of its own.
Yeah.
And continues going and going and going.
Well, the same thing with great design, that it has the opportunity, because you can look at these pictures 17 years...
I'm so glad I brought you today.
But seriously, you can look at these pictures 17 years later, and they resonate now as modern images.
Yeah.
they haven't dated themselves. Because sometimes design can, if it tries too hard, can date itself very quickly, like fashion.
Totally.
But these pictures don't. A lot of your design kind of stands the test of time.
Well, thank you, Doug.
Watching you two talk, can I ask a quick question here? Are you on set for all of your shoots?
Yeah, there's a lot of designers that don't go to the shoots.
Which is great.
Yeah. My next question.
I, however, go to all the shoots.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes designers can have there's a sense of nostalgia or an emotional connection to what's in that room, what's been designed with. And when you're hiring a photographer and a stylist, or and you're shooting for a magazine, things needed to be edited out of the photograph to make it just a stronger picture. They're just kind of things that make a picture feel balanced. And sometimes when the designer's there, they have trouble letting go, or they take it.
You're both holding the table, going back.
It's a little bit. We were shooting in Mexico recently, and the story's now running, I think, in five issues of AD, and he was getting very kind of offended that I was removing things from the picture. But I kind of know that an editor doesn't like, say, a ceramic cherub or or a certain type of flower. So we pulled those out, and he got defensive. Yeah. But he apologized when he saw.
That is the other thing. That is why we've had such an amazing professional relationship, is because Douglas knows how to do it. I mean, I've worked with almost every top interior photographer. In fact, I've worked with almost every top photographer there is, because over the years of originally I was a model years ago and worked with like Herb Ritz and all of those big people when I was a teenager. Now working through with all of the top interior photographers, it has been extraordinary to see the way everybody else works. The reason why I've had such an amazing relationship with Doug is because he not only has an amazing eye for an image, he has an amazing eye of how to style it himself. I'm not saying you ever get rid of a stylist, because they're wildly important, but he knows how to do it. He knows where to move things. And the most important thing, i.e. with this beautiful cover with the hill figures, in their Palm Beach house, the way he puts the client at ease for a portrait. Yeah. And that is really a wild thing, because there's a lot of people that can shoot a chair and a table and a bunch of flowers, but once you stick a person in the picture, and especially a celebrity, where we probably had 20 people behind the scenes of this, a stylist and a publicist and a hairdresser and a thing. You know what I mean? And there's all these people causing all this fuss. And then to be able to get a picture that looks super relaxed and natural, that is the talent of the photographer. Yeah. And he has that, which is one thing that I really admire.
Well, before we move on from that, is there something that you learned early on, Douglas, about how to work with celebrities, or is it like working with anyone else? I mean, is it?
It's definitely not like working.
It's definitely not.
Not like working with anybody else. When I first started in photography, doing fashion and portraits before I moved into interiors, and you really have to go, and actually I started in film, so I would watch David Fincher kind of direct, and you kind of learn that celebrities need to be directed. And so if you go, and I had no idea what I was doing.
And drugged.
And drugged. and so you kind of go in with you fake it. Like I would just fake it, like I knew exactly what I was doing. There was never a crack in the persona. We just went in, and it was just a kind of displaying confidence. Yeah. And then you kind of learn, and you're like, oh, this is actually quite easy. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. The minute you kind of
be the decisive, sense of authority, yeah.
But I still do that now when I shoot. We work very quickly. We're very decisive about the shots that we want. There's no kind of hemming and hawing. We don't kind of like look at the angle from 6 different heights. We kind of go in and we do it. At least I now have the confidence to know exactly kind of what I want.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
So we get a lot done.
Yeah. Martyn had mentioned how great you are with.
And you know what? Again, this project that's on the screen right now is the Hill Figures house in Palm Beach. So the Hill Figures have become very dear friends of both of ours, not just professionally but also personally. But that tight friendship has come from trust. Me as a designer, them trusting me to do their houses and look after their interiors, their money, and their creation of their image. With Douglas, it's also been the fact that he's helped always understand that when you're taking photographs, particularly of a celebrity, you're not just photographing their rooms, you're photographing their brand. and you are
That's a good
making
point.
their brand stronger.
Right.
And that is one of the great talents, because you always understand that, you know, whatever the look of the image is also the look of their personal image, what they're selling, whether it's their next movie, their next handbag, or, you know, they're looking for their next lover, whatever it is, it's all being created in this photo as an image.
Yeah. Do anybody get to see through the look on screen, or are you?
He always shows them the
Oh,
pictures.
yeah.
You do,
It's easier just for them to see what's happening as we do it. But then, you know, it's like, and they also, you know, it's a tricky line when you're photographing someone at home, because it can kind of get very kind of corny very quickly. Like, welcome to my home, and here I am leaning on a mantelpiece. And so...
But because of your relationship,
Right,
you get them
so-
on the back in a ball gown on the
So
back of a
I'm kind of allowed to do things like this now with my clients, and which is a great expectation that we can kind of have a little bit more fun.
Yeah,
with the
I'm just
photographs.
imagining that conversation. Like, you know, they're kind of there. They've got like, you know, like a breadboard and some bread, and you're like, but do you have a jet ski?
It's not even a conversation.
You know, yeah.
It's like you make it happen very quickly. Tommy, go put on a tux. Steve, put on
Yeah.
a gown. Let's get on the jet skis. And they're like, okay, and then it's happening.
This is how we usually arrive to a shoot. I, of course, am the one in the green. So
Oh, wow.
this is the power of photography. So this is the biggest interior design story in history. The Kylie Jenner cover, within 3 days, had 1.6 billion impressions. Before that came out, the largest impression ever was of the White House, which was 600,000. So we blew that bugger out of the water. But and you know, this is the example of, this was not an easy shoot, meaning that Kylie was all over the place. She was distracted. There was 1,000 things
She had
going
a
on.
new baby.
She had a new baby.
Over how many days are you shooting there?
2 days we shot
Okay.
this. The stylist brought like a million things, from a bikini to a ball gown, and she couldn't concentrate on anything. Doug managed to reel her in, got her in this Marc Jacobs sort of cupcake of a dress, and whipped her up on a poof, and there we go, and we got this unbelievable cover. And so again, that obviously there's great power in the celebrity there, and I'm not claiming it's because of my interior design that we got 1.6 billion. I think we might have got 1 billion because of but you know, the reality is that he managed to wrangle her in and get this extraordinary shot, which was painful, this one, but it looked amazing.
I mean, I think the 2 days were quite challenging. And it was less about her, it was more about her team.
Yeah.
The people surrounding her made it difficult to kind of get in there and do the work.
And then this was all very much about the branding. This is another image which I'm going to say
So incredible.
with you because of what you said with the stylist here. So this room was created, again, this is all about her brand, this house. So all of those chairs in those ombre pink leather, they were all custom dyed to exactly match a color of her lip kits.
Okay.
So everything was about her brand. And then Doug came
So
along.
designing the house, everything was about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
brand.
It was everything was like, there were consoles that were made to look like the drips on the packaging of her
Okay.
stuff. So, but Douglas in this image told the stylist, originally she put all these green ferns out, and he was like, no, we need to go pink on pink on pink, and you need to pick the colors of the chairs. And she literally, if you remember this, she went into the garden and picked those flowers. And he had to do that because that was his eye to see how much better we could get this picture.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you had said to me, you're like, Douglas could be a star. He doesn't need to be, but that's exactly how you're looking at the photos. Is
You're trying to find the balance.
you're trying to find the balance.
You know,
yeah.
which actually could be a whole conversation
Yeah.
about florals and pictures and how we all feel about them these days. But
Well, then good.
Wait,
I'll see you here in the fall.
Okay, so we just shot last week
Yeah.
together, and normally we've got like flowers everywhere, and you know there's things, and he suddenly didn't want to use any flowers. He's gone all like flowerless on me.
Was it the house?
Pardon me?
Was it the house that you didn't want flowers in? Was it?
It was an apartment.
I think-
actually,
well,
but
it's-
it was a feeling more than anything else.
I just think flowers have become, I mean, they've become, I think, too prominent in photography these days. I feel like if you look at architecture, I feel like because the stylists are becoming stars, and which is a great thing, but all of a sudden the styling is starting to stand in front of the designer's work.
Design.
So, you know, my assistant Kit and I, we were just in Europe for 2 weeks shooting, and the client, the designer, was like, no flowers. And I was like, God, that's going to be interesting. But it was so beautiful because the design stood, it was so strong. And so now I'm kind of pulling back on florals in all the work, which is great for a client because it's less expensive, but I think they're just overused. When when you get to look at a book that you've shot or a body of your work and you start flipping through it and all you see are these big flowers and these big flowers and these big flowers. And they should be supportive and not distracting.
Yeah.
I find that they're becoming
Yeah.
distracting. So, yesterday we were shooting in Atlanta with Bill Ingram, and I was like, let's pull back on those flowers. And our stylist, Anita Sarcidi, who is amazing with florals, was also like, Cynthia, I think you're right. Let's pull back.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how that goes with Veranda the next 2 days. See, just pull back a little bit.
I'm so intrigued.
But I think it's important.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it looks so beautiful. Like a room
Yeah.
looks so incredible when there's not a giant kind of spray of parrot tulips in the middle of a table
Yeah.
and it's blocking everything in that photograph.
Yeah.
I loved it because I went home with 3 buckets of flowers. My house is now covered in flowers. Heaven. Oh my God, look at that. There we are. So that in the corner of Kylie's handbag closet,
Which was a
And this is-
bedroom.
which was a bedroom, and turned into a handbag closet.
Just the handbag closet.
Yeah, reportedly $10 million of Hermes purses in that closet. But, we like to have fun.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's all about having fun. Yeah, I'm not sure she was terribly impressed that we tried to leave with those purse bags.
That is a problem.
But hey, this is one of my favorite projects that we have shot together recently. This was the cover of AD with RuPaul. And, it's not very often in a designer's career they get to put 26 disco balls in someone's living room, particularly some of which were 6 feet round. But this house was high drama, for the world's most famous drag queen. And, but this was, this house is obviously very, very photogenic because it's so sort of Hollywood Regency, black and white, very strong. But this was also a little bit difficult because Ru had been away for 3 months and he got back the day before the shoot. He'd been in Australia. He was wildly jet-lagged and didn't really want to play.
And had shot the finale of the show.
And
the
had
night
shot the
before.
finale of the show the night before and didn't really want to play. And
Was not in the mood.
Originally, we were going to have him in drag.
Not in the mood.
But it takes 4 hours to get him in drag. There's a lot of tape involved, ladies and gentlemen.
Do with that what you will.
So Doug eventually got him into sort of silk pajamas and managed to get him sort of posed into this living room. But because he wasn't feeling great, was jet-lagged, these shots had to be done in 3 minutes. It was super fast, wasn't it?
That's all we got.
Really?
So, yeah.
RuPaul was not.
Yeah. He was not happy that day.
That day.
Which is crazy. I mean, and I love him. I've known him. He's a dear friend of mine. I've never seen him like that before. But the next day, he came down with really sick. So it was like, you know what I mean? It was one of those moments. Anyway, we got this extraordinary cover, and this was one of the strongest design stories around the world last year. Again,
I
it was
agree.
wildly-
I agree.
And no color. Like there's no color in this picture, which is what that was my concern with RuPaul came out in black pajamas. I was like, there's no color in this picture, but a testament to the design and to the power of celebrity. It's it just screams at you. It jumps off the
Some
newsstand.
fantastically large balls.
Big balls.
Big balls. And there you can see the balls. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, actually, the most hilarious story of this is that I wanted black disco balls. And so we searched all over the place and spoke to all these people that kind of, and no one knew where to get black disco balls. So an intern in my office went on Etsy and came up to me and said, "Oh look, I just found these on Etsy," and they were like $18.99. And I looked at them and I was like, "Well," but they were tiny, they were literally to go on a Christmas tree, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, we called this lady. She was in Ohio or Hodaho or somewhere in the middle of America. I have no idea where it was. And it turns out she's this little lady that produced disco balls. She'd been doing them since the 70s. And she had 3 sizes, 12 inches, 18 inches, and 24 inches. And so I called her up and said, "Darling, I need 6 feet." I want a 4 foot, a 3 foot, and a 6 foot, and I want black glass. And so, I mean, she was adorable. You know, she'd never had anything like it. She had no idea who RuPaul was. And so, anyway, it turned out she was 76, and within, you know, it took her 3 months to glue all these balls. It was hilarious. They all came like, all like in little bits of like tissue paper that had like butterflies, and it was so adorable.
Yeah.
Anyway, cut to, you know, the story comes out, this massive carver, it's all the ways. And of course I credited her.
Yeah.
Lucille's balls. And from Ohio. And anyway, now it's so adorable. Obviously the entire world wants disco balls. And so she's got all these people in this little village, like gluing, dementedly gluing disco balls now.
Martyn, had you told me this story before, she'd be sitting right there between you two, you know?
Oh, it changed her life. Adorable. Anyway.
It's a great story.
Yeah. This was a fun picture, which I loved, which was so hard. Again, this is a tiny little powder room, and Doug managed to get great depth and beauty out of this. But this is actually a wallpaper, a custom wallpaper that Dugournet did for me, and it's all wonderful silhouettes of RuPaul in his different wigs from his shows. So it's, you know, it's all those personal touches. I like the flowers in this one.
I'm not saying that they're unnecessary all the time. Just offering some practical advice to the audience.
Thank God, marvelous, marvelous. Look at so this is it's a 14,000 square foot house, which was 7 bedrooms. It's now a 1-bedroom house with a 5,000 square foot of closets. And this is Rue's drag closet. And I'm so upset. I was desperately trying to find the picture of Douglas in Rue's high heels, shooting it, which I couldn't find, unfortunately.
Thank God.
Yeah, but that's going to be my Christmas card. But, you know, again, such powerful, amazing photographs. And, you know, again, it was the thing that is so important with understanding the photographer's eye and the relationship that you have with them is letting them go. Like, he moved all the furniture around, moved the chairs around. The mannequins are usually behind glass doors inside of the closets, and he brought them out into the room, which gave us this next dimension and made the photo come to life.
Yeah.
And that, you know, again, how many times have you seen that on your shoots where the designer's having a mental breakdown because their room was all set up with their 2 sofas and their 4 club chairs and their coffee table and the 6 lamps and the thing, and the photographer has to take 2 sofas and an armchair out and 5 of the lamps.
Right, exactly.
To get the picture to be right. And the designer, because they
And time is of
don't
the
know,
essence.
and the designer's
so
having a
there's an hour
complete
going.
nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
So that is what it's all about. That's about trust. It's about trusting and understanding that the designer, that the photographer knows better than the designer,
Yeah.
certainly through the camera lens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a conversation. I think it's a conversation to have.
Yeah. Otherwise, you need those little, what are those anti-anxiety pills that you grind up, put in there?
Martinis?
Those.
Right.
Those. They've always worked on me, as you know. This is also a friend of Doug and I. It's Ellen Pompeo, who I have worked for many years now. I'm very close friends, and this again is so the stylist, the fashion stylist.
Oh my God.
You know, big star, highest paid TV actress in America. Anna Wintour picked the stylist for this shoot. All these racks and racks,
Lots
of clothes arrive. You've never seen so many gowns in your life for a beach house, like whacking great Dior gowns and everything. Trays of diamonds, most of which I put on. And
And none of it felt right for her.
no, Douglas
Really?
goes to her, have you got a wetsuit? And he goes in and he puts her in a wetsuit for the cover of AD.
I remember the first time I saw that, and I thought it was genius. I loved it. It was so
It just felt
unexpected.
so much, it felt right.
Yeah, yeah. And she,
Plus she has a great figure, and these dresses had so many ruffles and things, and it was so distracting.
yeah.
It
And
didn't make
I
sense for
also
a
think
beach
that's
house.
interesting because when Martyn, you and I shot at her home,
Yeah.
we just did an entertaining thing, and you're the one who picked out her clothes for that, because she just said, you said, she's interested in house stuff. She was like, just find me something to wear kind of thing. So it kind of makes sense that something more natural like that would reflect her a little bit better.
It's such a great vibe for a beach house.
Yeah.
And we hadn't seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're trying to do something that feels unique and
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, a musical accompaniment. Had I known, I'd have changed outfits.
To a wetsuit, or maybe?
Yeah. Mine's a little shinier. It's so pretty, this beach house. So Ellen loves property. She loves buying houses. She likes to collect houses. And this is a beautiful Buff and Hensman sort of mid-century beach house on the bluff in Malibu. And we had this is another thing to understand. We had really horrible weather that day. It was really cloudy. And when Douglas first shot this room, it was totally overcast. But he said to me, don't worry. We'll capture some sun later on and we'll blend the pictures so we get that visual. But the thing that is amazing that none of us understand, that photographer understands, is that actually when it's a gloomy day, you have the most beautiful lighting for the interiors. Mm-hmm. Right?
I mean, I really do believe that natural light makes materials look their best. That's when you see the depth in a material and how luxurious they can be.
Yeah.
So, and an overcast day is the most beautiful light to shoot in. You know, I go on shoots and the designer's like, oh, it's amazing, it's sunset and you've got this. And I was like, yeah, but everything's going to be orange.
Yeah.
And I think you worked very hard to have these beautiful blue walls and this incredible. So, and I really want to try and be true to the colors and to the intent of what a designer's done. So you kind of have to pull back and say, you know something, maybe we won't be shooting at sunset because it's not about the sun. Really, it's about the room.
Right. On that subject of lighting, you know, because everyone in here is probably shooting their, you know, projects and going through these. What are some of the mistakes that people can make with lighting, especially shooting houses?
I mean, I feel like you've got to you've got to find a style of photography that you like. A local photographer here in Atlanta, or you bring someone in from New York or wherever. But you find someone whose work you admire, and it's just how they light things. Some photographers bring in lights and strobes, and some people like to fill in all the shadows, and they want to see everything. That's one style. It's not my style, but it's one way of shooting something. I like to see light moving through a room. I like to see a shadow. I think it adds depth and interest. I think it captures you longer in a photograph if you have to work a little bit harder to see what it is, and you can, you know, and then you find that, and then you work with that person all the time.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't keep switching photographers. I think
That's a great point.
Well, I think it can be very distracting to the work that you're doing because all of a sudden you're focused on a different point of view, a different lens. Something's wide, something's tight, something's lit differently, the colors are different. And so all of a sudden you're focused on the photography and not the design.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like I work a lot with Ken Folk, and his kind of style is so vast and different. And there's so many different types of things that he shoots. And so because we've been working together for 12 years, the photography style never changes. And there's a harmony in the way I see his work. And so that kind of gives harmony to all of his work. Like you kind of know it's a Ken Folk thing because it all looks.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's the right vibe.
Yep.
And so if different people put their point of views on the same project, you'll see how different they can look.
It goes to what Martyn was saying too about how once the relationship is in place and you're just
important.
building on that each time rather than building with a new photographer, you know, you're really kind of ahead.
This photograph of Douglas in Winnie Harlow's dressing room is a prime example of why I love what he does with the celebrities, because he shows them what to do. This was Doug telling one of the world's highest paid supermodels, the face that changed the face of modeling, how to model. And it turned into that.
But you just don't have time. We have 2 days to do portraits, to do video, to capture the entire house, to do everything, interviews, all of it. So you got to go in and get out, like as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And you know, the challenge was like we were ready, but Winnie Harlow, it takes her, you know, an hour and a half to get that. We had a whole day just for portraits of Winnie because it took so long between looks.
Yeah.
I kind of like your look better.
Thank you.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, this is somebody who has vitiligo, whose skin is almost giraffe-like in the fact that, all of the blotching and everything, but she's so extraordinarily beautiful. And she's taken something that a lot of people would have, throughout all of her childhood, she was bullied because of it, and it was absolutely awful. And she turned that around and has become an icon, and literally has changed the face of modeling. So it's absolutely extraordinary. She's the sweetest person, isn't she? Yeah, this was an interesting job for me, actually, because it was her first house. She was 27, and it was a really small budget. And budget is a word that I do hate to use.
I'm surprised it came out of your mouth, to be honest.
It's a rare moment, believe me. So it was really interesting because it actually sort of put me back to my roots in the essence of understanding.
You must have enjoyed that challenge.
Yeah, I did. I loved it because it's the high and the low. I mean, for instance, here in her living room, that chandelier's from CB2, the chairs are from Soho Home. The rug is a rip-off of a very expensive rug that came from some, it was online. So you've got the high and the low. It's almost like dressing. You can have a T-shirt on from Gap and a pair of Levi's, but suddenly you put on your Hermes belt and your great, whatever your shoes are, and you've created a look, and you've sort of taken the high and the low and made it into your own. And so, I mean, the palm trees here, those amazing Italian vintage brass palm trees were like $20,000. So I used the money to highlight in moments that were really strong, and sort of juxtapositioned it with other things that are literally on every main street in America. Yeah. But it was a really fun thing to do, to test that skill. Yeah. But this is another prime example, because actually that room has got 2 of those sofas, and Douglas removed one of the sofas for us to get more of an airy, sexy ambient shot. And there's her bedroom, sort of high glamour. Again, I custom made the headboard, but everything else is from like Soho Home, CB2, Crate and Barrel. So yeah, it was a great challenge to do. I mean, I think I did that entire house for like $400,000, which is usually what I spend on a room.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, to look back on it and know, when you look at this, it looks in complete harmony. It doesn't look like a thing is missing. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about last night about, we were talking about whether you're ever off work, whether you're not working. And his answer was, everywhere I go, I'm hitting the antique stores, I'm doing the things that you love anyway, and they kind of feed into your work. But I would imagine not necessarily in this project. But one that had a bit more antiques, that high-low idea is this an interesting idea for the room? And you can do the high-low.
Yeah, and it's what modern decorating is about.
Yeah.
There's the adage that I always live by is a wonderful saying by Oscar Wilde, which is all beautiful things belong to the same age, which to me means, it could be a Picasso sketch and a glass ball from Crate and Barrel. If those 2 objects are beautiful to you and you put them together, you create even more beauty. The price tag doesn't matter. It's about how you style things and how, back to the photographer, how the photographer sees it through his lens.
Yeah.
Good photography can make a very inexpensive object look great. It's almost like a cliche, or bad photography can make an incredible room look pretty sour.
Yeah, we get in projects sometimes, and if it's bad photography, there's nothing. We'll reshoot it if we really love the design, but sometimes it's not doing justice to the design. So.
Actually, I had a really great compliment from a designer we worked with recently in London, and he was so nervous. We hadn't worked together before. He, great expense, brought me and my assistant over to Europe for these shoots, and he showed up late the first day, and he was kind of nervous. He walked in, he was like, I can't believe I wasn't here. I'm so sorry, these things to do. And he kind of looked at what we were doing, and he was like, God, this is, I don't need to be here. And he left. And it was great. It was an incredible compliment.
Yeah.
Because he trusted that we were making this incredible work, worthy of, because his past photography looked terrible. Honestly, I was looking at the work in 18, I was like, God, this doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a competitive thing. It didn't highlight what his work should be. And now,
right.
Don't make him look too good. I can do without the competition. So talking about travel, again, and the consistency of having the same photographer work with you where you understand each other and each other's vision. Obviously, as you've seen as we've flicked through my work today, I don't have a look, I don't have a style. I can do everything from restoring a 12th century castle to the most modern disco. And that's what I love about design is all the multifacets. This was a project that Doug shot with me in
Maui.
In Maui, yeah, and kind of an amazing. It's actually the world's most famous.
Surf break, isn't it?
Yeah, but what is it? What is it they do on there? Not surfing. It's surfing. But what's the thing? Kite surfing.
Kite surfing.
It's the most famous
right.
kite surfing location in the world because this beach, you can actually just walk into the water and kite surf immediately. It's like one of the only places you can do it or something. I have no idea. Imagine.
Something like that.
I like the surfers, not the surfing. But but anyway, so Douglas came with me and shot this amazing project. Actually, the staircase here was hand carved by another guy in his 70s out of Koa wood on the island. And the staircases were all supposed to have the vibe of being, did I just go past it? Of being the scales, you know, of a fish. The backbones of a fish. And then this actually is in Cabo. And this was for the creator of eBay, actually, his house. And this we shot the day before the world closed down with COVID. It was literally the very last shoot, yeah. And then Doug just informed me that actually his assistant had COVID. But so this was sort of to honor Mexican mid-century design. People don't really realize that there were incredible furniture designers in the 50s and 60s in Mexico, very much like in Brazil. They were amazing, using amazing woods and amazing shapes. And so everything here was kind of an ode to that.
Yeah, it has a great sense of place.
Yeah, I love this shot that Doug captured again. It had doors. This is the primary bedroom, and it had doors that opened everywhere on three sides. That's going out onto a meditation deck. But I love the way that we got those cactus to look like kind of Giacometti sculptures almost. You know, it's such a cool visual. Look at the beautiful play on the light, though, that he got there, the way it sparkles off the floor, and that sort of wonderful balance, the way your eye is pulled out to the vista.
Yeah.
Now we're back in Maui. God, this is all over the place. But color, you know, styling, bringing in the palms from outside, and the little simple green plants to take the high and bring it back down to the low and make it feel natural. Again, great trick with the photographer's eye. And there's our beautiful sunset on the beach. This guy has, this beach is almost private. There are no private beaches in Maui. But
I know it looks fake, but it really did that.
Yeah.
It really, I swear.
But it's super difficult to get onto this beach. So they have this, we carved a fire pit out on the grass as it leads down to the sand and then out to the ocean. You know, but it's all about capturing. This isn't about capturing design. This is about capturing essence. This picture is part of that story of that entire house, but is showing lifestyle. So the photography, and interior photography, is not just about the interior, the pretty chair, the beautiful chandelier. It's about lifestyle and the capture of lifestyle, and that's the other thing that you always get. Sometimes I'll go to Doug, you know, this beautiful, you know, 2,000 square foot living room, and he's shooting one corner, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I want my big room, and he's like, no, this is about the feeling of this space, and that's what this was. This was even though this is beautiful, it's not really about any of my furniture. It's about this is what this house is about.
Yeah, yeah. Katie, what do we have? We have how many minutes? 5?
All right,
okay,
we'll go quicker. This is my house that Doug shot for me, and kind of it's my house in LA, one of my houses in LA. I've got a couple of them, but this is the one I live in at the moment. This was originally Andy Warhol's house, Tina Turner's house, and Dennis Hopper's house, and so it's had this extraordinary kind of creative energy inside of it.
Yeah.
The drama of my staircase, for God's sake. And a couple of Warhols in my living room, the Warhol sunsets. It's kind of an ode to Warhol that I love. I love that picture.
It was a tough one.
Yeah.
Actually.
Why was it tough?
Because it was all backlit. We kind of had to find this balance to get it just right. You work very hard on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kitchen, and look, there's Daisy. Look, there's my dog. Isn't she divine? It's really her house, by the way. She totally rules the roost. But this is the genius of a photographer, because the dog would not sit still, and Doug managed to capture her in the hallway, and then of course he superimposed her in.
Something like, sort of like close. A little bit.
And our rule in magazines is, like, if there's a picture with the dog and without the dog
Always wins.
It doesn't even matter
Yeah.
if it's already been on the page before, whatever. The dog always wins.
Yeah. My screening room. So as you can see,
That's beautiful, Martyn.
I love a little bit of kind of exotica. And this house was built in 1923 in the Hollywood Mediterranean style, I call it, which is because all those great architects of the 20s and 30s went on this sort of grand tour of Europe. And they came back predominantly in California, and they sort of mixed it all together. It was like a cocktail, so there'd be a bit of like, Italian, a bit of French, a little bit of Spanish, blended the best of everything. And so this house has a lot of that in the architecture.
On a lot of these projects that we do together, these houses are huge, and there's so many rooms, and you kind of have to make a choice when you're, and this is when having like a stylist who's also an editor, or you kind of think about these things with an editor's eye. Because if you don't have time to shoot everything, you have to kind of choose, what do we want to show? And I find the best approach is, what would make the strongest narrative? Like, what would look great as a 14-page story in Architectural Digest or Veranda? And so you kind of, and that's how you kind of edit. Like, let's get a kitchen, let's get one guest room, not all 6.
Not all 6, because you
don't need every bathroom, but, or let's kind of go in tight on a vignette, on a moment, so you have a sense of scale and
you know that we'll be doing the balance between the wide shots and then the.
Because at the end of the day, if you're going to show your work to a client or to an editor at a magazine, you want to give them the best story.
Yeah.
And it's not 35 pictures. It's what are the strongest 15. And it's hard to edit down. And that's why you bring on like a great stylist. Like Anita Sarcidi, who we work with all the time, she's more than a stylist, she's an editor. Like she will go in there and help you kind of narrow down the focus of what that story is.
Yeah, that's so valuable.
Because she knows how the picture's going to look on the page.
Or how it will lay out. And all those things are actually quite important, because you could end up with 17 pictures that all kind of feel exactly the same.
Right.
This is,
Cher.
behave yourself, clicker.
Cher.
This is Cher's house. So I've worked with Cher for 20 years.
This was like winning the lottery that day.
Yeah.
Like this was the best shoot ever. Cher.
More.
And she was home.
And she was.
She was home. So listen, so the best part about this shoot, I'll just say that, so we're shooting the house, and then at about noon, Cher's assistant was like, guys, Cher's coming downstairs. Cher's coming down. I was like, what do we do? And so I guess we kind of stood at the bottom of the stairs and we waited for Cher to come downstairs. And like Cher comes downstairs and she's got a mask hanging off of one ear and she looks incredible. And the assistant's like, Cher, put your mask on. She goes, I don't want to put my mask on. And she starts, she's like doing this and it's incredible. I'm like, and she starts talking and telling stories. And like 15 minutes later, I was like, I couldn't believe that I literally shut Cher down. I was like, I got to get back to work. Which I'm like, so we set up the camera in like the living room.
Cher down, that should be a new song.
we set up the camera in the living room, and Cher walks in, grabs a chair, pulls it up next to the camera, and starts talking. And so we're shooting the living room, and she's just telling stories and cracking jokes. We go to the dining room, she walks to the dining room, pulls up a chair, and for the rest of the day, wherever we were, Cher sat down next to us and told us stories, and she's brilliant.
That is
What
great.
about the reveal of Shelotto?
Oh, there was Cher, oh God.
She now has an ice cream truck. that
She has
goes
an ice
around
cream
LA,
truck.
where she does Shelotto, which is her ice cream. And there's a hilarious picture of her like this, sort of on the side of on the something with some sort of ice cream. Yeah, Shelotto.
It's brilliant.
Divine.
It was brilliant.
Divine. So this is her house in Malibu, which, if anybody's got a spare 75 million, is just
I think
on the
it's
market.
80.
Oh, is it 80?
80,
It's gone up, yeah. because of these photos.
Oh, yeah.
The value of a good photographer adds 5 million to your house. This is her entry hall looking into her living room, and her kind of wild living room that has an opium bed at one end, which is actually set up with a giant mattress on it. And it's where Cher, because she lives in this massive house on her own, it's where Cher curls up, and it's got a little TV inside of it, and she watches TV inside the opium bed. If I was Cher, I would watch TV in an opium bed too, right? It's all about that. And this is one of the little seating areas off of her bedroom. She always, in all the homes I've done for her, she always has her own private suite. So the bedroom will have a sitting room, it'll have an ante-room. It's a whole thing happening.
Is she pretty involved in the design? I mean, in the design?
She's wildly involved in the design because, I mean, when I first started to work for her, she was still on the road touring, and I would have to go to her room at like 11 o'clock at night when she got off the stage and get in bed with her, show her fabric samples.
As you do, yeah, as one does.
But what is a boy to do? But so yeah. And there we are. Look at that, pretending to be surfers.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, that's great.
Doug is really good at the self-portrait, as you might have noticed.
Your Instagram is great.
Thank you very much.
Just great.
Isn't it so beautifully curated?
It is so wonderful.
Yeah, especially when it's got pictures of mine on it. So, yeah, and then we are star. Boys and girls, that was a little star style, wasn't it?
That's great.
We went all over Hollywood. We went out to Hawaii. We did all this. This is great. Cabo? Yeah.
Travel the world with Doug and Martyn.
Sign us up. Thank you. Do we have time for like a question or two? Yeah? Any? All right, let's open it up to any questions for Martyn or Douglas.
And remember,
Keep
I
it
have
It could be
a
about
please,
microphone.
shooting. It could be about design. It could be, yes, right here.
Okay, hold on.
And
Once we
Katie's
get-
coming around with
Let
the
me get to you. I
microphone.
promise I can run it. Heels. Where's our question?
Right here, right. There you go.
Oh, hi. I was wondering, do you have anything to say about being, you said a lot of these people are your dear friends. Does that end up being hard at times? Or are there people that you're such good friends with that you wouldn't want them to be your client?
Well, firstly,
It's a good question.
only become friends after they've paid the bill. Number one. You know, everybody in this room who's worked in design understands that the best design is when you have a really personal relationship with somebody, because you understand how they live, how they want to live, what happens within their family. You even know what's in their underwear drawers. So you know, it's a very, very personal relationship. And part of our job is to navigate that relationship and to make it flourish. Because, for instance, both Douglas and I have worked with the Hilfigers for many years. I think you've probably shot like 10 of their houses.
All of them.
Yeah, and
Wow.
you know, and I've designed 5 of them now, and you know, we have this amazing relationship. I go on their boat every year. I mean, you know, we'll become kind of great friends because you almost can finish each other's sentences when you're talking about design, or when you're talking about photography, or when you're talking about image. It's because you've been very, very careful to honor each other. And that's sort of the greatest form of a working relationship and a friendship and any type of relationship. So I think it's just about the way that you treat people. You know, in our industry, because we end up so close to people and you know so much about them, it's so important to maintain the boundaries of people's privacy and not expose too much, and just honor the way they live and want to live.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, the personal relationships.
Yeah.
Wildly important.
Wildly important.
And they're challenging people because they're so public.
Yes.
So when you spend time with them privately, like when I've known the Hilfigers for 20 years now, very close with their kids and Tommy and Dee, and so when we're doing a shoot together, it's really easy because, you know, I'll say, Dee, let's get in a one-piece bathing suit and lay by the pool. She goes, I'll do it for you, and it looks incredible. Or get on a jet ski, or all these things that, you know, it
They
takes
trust you.
They trust me that I'm not going to kind of make them look twee. It's going to kind of come out. Well, I hope it comes out looking great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But they don't have to be the judge. They don't have to like.
They can step back.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Because they know that we have their best interest
Yeah.
in mind.
Yeah.
Because, like, the gain is the friendship. It's not the paycheck.
I mean, I've been extremely lucky that all of, obviously, the mainstay of my career has been all of the celebrities. That almost everybody's allowed us to shoot their projects and expose their lives to the world. And that is because it's trust. They trust that you're going to do it the right way. They trust that, again, you're going to support their brand and you're going to support them. Done with the photography and the way you create their entire style. So when you have that relationship, it's a really wonderful, incredible thing.
Yeah. It's a great question. Thank you.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being in Atlanta and telling your story. This is a question for Doug. Your portraits are really amazing, and this is nothing about the interior design. They're beautiful, too, but I think,
Thank God we're about to cut you off.
Your relationship with Martha and so many other celebrities that are on your Instagram are so fantastic. And you just mentioned talking about Cher at the ice cream truck. Where do those photographs go that are so personal and so fun? And I mean, will you do a book sometime, or do they allow you to keep them around, or? Where do those kinds of things end up?
Like more personal photographs?
Yeah.
I mean,
because I'm sure they're just as good as anything we see published, and even more fun, I'm sure.
I think there's a bit of trust. Like, you're not going to kind of publish like your really intimate memories with your closest friends. So it's kind of a conversation, like whatever we kind of put out there into the world.
They're all in that secret file on his phone.
The hidden one.
Not those photos.
But I mean, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in 10 years.
But you did that book called The Fascinator
Many years ago.
Which was all Polaroids of everyone, right? Wasn't
Well,
it?
it was a lot of Polaroids, but not really.
That was cute. I liked that.
There was some naughty moments in there.
Yeah.
Like Lindsay Lohan, but
I loved Lindsay Lohan. When I did her apartment in the Sierra Towers,
Did you?
Yeah. And she was dating the guy in the apartment below. And something happened, whatever, some mad night, and I guess he went off with somebody else. Anyway, she purposely overflowed her bathtub, and it went right the way through, obviously, and it completely flooded his apartment. She left it on for 2 days.
Whoa.
Yeah, but you didn't hear that from me.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have to get over. I think we have to finish this up so we can get over to the book signing. I want to again thank Hector Finch for this wonderful partnership on this panel. R. Hughes for welcoming us in just a moment. I hope we all go there. And I want to thank, bottom of my heart, Martyn and Douglas for coming and sharing your world with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.